The Assyrian king had a plan. He knew that Israel was a small country, and so he thought, I'll just go take one city at a time until I have captured the whole country of Israel. Well, he got his army ready, and they went to one of the cities, and they were ready to attack. But lo and behold, the city was already guarded and ready for him. And he thought, how in the world did King Jehoram know I was coming to that city? So he backed his army off, and they got together again, and they made a different plan. They'd go attack a different city. Well, they got ready to attack that city, and it was guarded and expecting them. And the king said, something's going on here. Jehoram seems to know every time I'm getting ready to attack. Now, I want you to question my men. There must be a traitor in the group. And they questioned the men, and finally one of the men said, Sir, there are no traitors in your group. There's Elisha living in Israel, and he's a prophet. And he's telling Jehoram every time we're getting ready to attack a city, and that's why Jehoram's always ready for us. Well, the Assyrian king said, I guess we need to catch Elisha, and then that'll stop it. Where is he? Well, they searched, and they said, he's living in Dothan. That's where his house is. So he said, all right, off to Dothan. We'll go there tonight, surround the city, and take him in the morning. Well, when Elisha's servant got up the next morning and looked out the window, there were chariots and horses and a whole army surrounding the little town of Dothan. And he woke up Elisha and he said, Elisha, come quick. We're in big trouble. Just look, there's an army out there. And Elisha said, oh, calm down. You don't need to be afraid. We've got a bigger army than that. And the servant said, we don't have an army. What are you talking about? And Elisha said, Lord, open my servant's eyes. And he opened the servant's eyes, and the servant could see a huge army of chariots and horses, fiery chariots and horses. It was God's angelic army out there behind the enemy army. And Elisha said, Lord, please just blind the enemy army. And God did. Now, when they couldn't see, then they didn't know where to go. They couldn't lead their horses. And Elisha went out and he said, hey, fellas, I think you're in the wrong place, but I'll be happy to lead you to the right place. Will you want to follow me? And they said, yes. Take one of our horses, and one horse will follow another. And so they took the horses, and Elisha took the first horse, and he led the horse away from the city of Dothan and straight to the city of Samaria, where the king's palace is. He led them inside the wall of Samaria. And when all of the enemy army was inside the wall of Samaria, Elisha said, just a minute. And he ran to the palace and said to the king, come here, I want to show you something. And the king came out and looked, and he said, wow, that's the whole Syrian army inside the walls of our city. Let's kill them. And Elisha said, no, I don't think that's what we ought to do. Lord, please open the eyes of the enemy soldiers. And God opened their eyes, and oh no, we're inside the walls of Samaria and standing right in front of the palace of the king. What are we going to do about this? Well, we're in big trouble. And Elisha said, hold it, fellas, just hold it. And the king said, okay, Elisha, this is it. We get to kill them, right? And Elisha said, well, you know what, King Jehoram, if you had captured them in battle, you wouldn't kill them. And we didn't capture them. God did. Now, I think what you really ought to do is feed them, give them water to drink, and send them home free. And the king said, what? And Elisha said, yeah, I think that's what you ought to do. And you try it and see what happens. Well, that's a funny way to treat an enemy, but okay, Elisha, if you say so. All right, fellas, I want you to all come into the palace. I'm going to feed you, give you water, and then I'm going to send you home free. They couldn't believe it. Well, sure enough, the king fed them, gave them water to drink, and sent them back to Syria free. And you know what? They never came back to fight Jehoram again. Now, kiddos, this is not easy, but I'm going to give you a formula for getting rid of people who are mean to you or say things that are bad and hurt your feelings. When somebody's mean to you, maybe they hit you, maybe they deliberately try to trip you, or they say something really, really bad that hurts your feelings, I want you to smile sweetly and say, well, I'm sorry you don't like me, but I like you. And you're laughing because you say, Miss Joanie, that's the silliest thing in the world. We can't do that. If somebody hits us, we want to pop them back. And if somebody says something mean to us, we want to say something mean back. Well, that's exactly the opposite of what God has told us to do. And you know what? When He says to do something good to your enemy and to make them happy, it works. I know a little boy and a little girl said some very mean things to him. And I told him, I said, the next time she says mean things to you, you look at her, smile sweetly, and say, well, I'm sorry you don't like me, but I like you. And you see what happens. He did it. And you know what? The little girl didn't say mean things to him anymore. You see, first of all, when you give something good back to somebody that's been bad to you, it makes them not want to tease you anymore because it's no fun. If they can't make you mad, then it's no fun. And not only that, even more important, it makes them ashamed of themselves and they quit. So God's formula is right. It worked for Elisha and it'll work for you if you're brave enough to try it. Just say, well, I'm sorry you don't like me, but I like you.